Good morning. So, today, two important things are happening. First one is the Palindrome Day, and that means it's something that hasn't happened in 909 years. Palindrome means that same thing can be read forward and backwards. So today's 02/02/2020. If you turn it backwards, it's the same number. And the other big thing that is happening today is that we're starting with a new book study that is for the first time in our history, the study of unity and the Course in Miracles. So we are sure that this study will be exciting, engaging, stimulating, will open doors to seeing the world differently, to seeing the world of abundance, forgiveness, and oneness as the truth, and the world's scarcity, strife, and separateness as really the illusion. So my question to you is, are you ready? I am. So let's move forward with our service then. And so it is.
She Please stand now and join us in singing It's a Small World. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hope and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. 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 It's a small, small world. There is just one moon and one golden sun, and a smile means friendship to everyone. Though the mountains divide and the oceans are wide, it's a small world after all. 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 It's a small, small world. Please remain standing and join us in singing the welcome song. Welcome into this place. Welcome into this open vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift our hearts. Offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into this open vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift our hearts as we offer up this praise unto your name. Please take a moment and turn to greet Christ and the beautiful spirits of the people around you. You say either, and I say either. You say neither, and I say neither. Either, either, neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing off. You say potato, and I say potato. You say tomato, I say clamato. Potato, potato, tomato, clamato. Let's call the whole thing off. Oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. Oh, if we have to part, then that would break my heart. So, you say vanilla, I'll say after. You say after, I say after. Laughter, laughter, after, after. Let's call the whole thing off. must part. Oh, if we have to part, then that would break my heart. You say vanilla, I say vanilla. You sarsaparilla, I sarsaparilla. Vanilla, vanilla, oh sarsaparilla. Let's call the calling off. Yeah, let's call the whole thing off.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you guys and everybody. Isn't that amazing how we go from the Psalm 23rd song into potato, potato? Anyways, I want to welcome officially all of you and those who are connecting with us through the internet. Thank you for sharing the space and opening up to what Spirit has for all of us this morning. I have some announcements. Would like to remind everybody that, as we were saying earlier, we are embarking today officially for 5 weeks on our book study, Unity and A Course in Miracles. There's a book out there that you have access to if you haven't bought it yet, by William Heller and Paul Hasselbeck. And then Paul will be here next Sunday, the 9th, as a speaker and doing the workshop as well. Also, remember that we have many small groups around the triangle. Hope you are in one of them, and if you aren't, you might want to contact Emily Gabriel, who will be out there willing to help you and find you a good group to be in. So I am really looking forward to this discussion, even on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the day. We are open to discuss that in both the Course in Miracles class on Thursday and my spiritual dialogue group on Tuesdays. Then talking about classes, the classes continue, the fun continues, and Rev Neusom will be doing a class like every February on affirmative prayer, but this time it's a combo class. He's integrating the 5 principles and the affirmative prayer. It starts on the 13th for 5 weeks at 7 p.m. So hope you can maximize this opportunity to be in a class with Reverend Neusom. And then, okay. Do I have to say anything else? Yes, I do. So we're opening up the fellowship hall again. You get to bring whatever you want to bring to share, a drink, appetizer, or dessert, and we'll provide the music just like the New Year's format. It was really casual. There's not really a charge. We're just getting together and to enjoy music, to dance. Actually, the same group, the Rising Sounds Entertainment, they'll be providing not only the music, but the graphic images of everything that will be displayed. It will start at 7:30, and I hope you can make it there and just keep the excitement going. Thank you, Jay. You're such a good sport. And then it might be your time to renew your underwear also. And if you do that this week, go ahead and get some more. We are doing on this Sunday in February 16th, we're collecting new men's and women's underwear from Healing Transitions, a nonprofit that supports Wake County adults recovering from homelessness and substance abuse. So either next Sunday or the upcoming Sunday, make sure you can bring socks too, and I don't have to describe, but you know what underwear is. Okay, now I'm done with announcements, so I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath with me and join me in a prayer. I love to pray with you. Close your eyes and take another breath. And just open. to what is. Open to the power. Open to the presence. And open to the love. And as we open, we allow our consciousness to move into that direction of what is. And that's the sacred mission of our prayer, to move us into what is, into an unchanging nature, into the all-knowing, the omnipresence and the omnipotence. And we let that connection be. And as we do, we find all the freedom, all the peace that we are really seeking. So we open to a moment and to an awareness that it is a gift that we get to explore together. These two big philosophies, the Course in Miracles and Unity. And we see how these teachings are a means to perceive ourselves and this world in a different way. And as we do that, we get to manifest our true Christ potential. We see ourselves releasing the beliefs and the judgments that had hindered us from knowing, applying, and experiencing the eternal truth of love, of oneness, and wholeness. So we say yes. We are ready and we are willing to great breakthroughs in consciousness. And our hearts are already grateful for what we know the divine has in store for each one of us. We celebrate it, we smile, and we expect. For surely the presence of the divine is leading our lives, our evolution. And we open up to affirming it once again in this song. For surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Let us continue in prayer. As we deepen into prayer, we deepen into our hearts. And then we allow our hearts to expand. And we move up a little into our high hearts, where we are connected and we know we are connected to everything that is. And we bring this attention of connection and oneness. To every prayer request written in this prayer box, written because of love, inviting us to love with them. And we affirm our oneness with gladness, knowing that as we carry this vision, this experience together, it's no problem to let go of limiting beliefs or small outcomes or fears or worries. They fall away naturally to the superior vision and truth, the only truth of our oneness, our divinity. As we celebrate that today, in this moment and every moment, we practice living as awakening divinity. And along with the dynamic life this brings, it also brings us peace. And so it is. Amen.
There is holy love. There is holy love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only As we begin to relax into this beautiful place, let our bodies find a comfortable way to sit so that we might begin to meditate. So we adjust the body, and then we begin to adjust the mind by paying attention to the breathing. The mind, which is so busy, we give it just one thing to do. That is to breathe and pay attention to the breath. And let the mind get some rest as it begins to deepen just by being still.
as the mind quiets, let us contemplate the thought that this may be a dream. That what we experience with our eyes open might be similar to the dream we have when our eyes are closed. We dream. And in our dream, things happen. Worlds are created. We have emotions. We have victories and defeats. There seems to be good and bad. Let us imagine we are dreaming even when we wake up from our dreams. It is as though there was a dream within the dream. As we contemplate that, let us feel the spaciousness of consciousness. Its creative power. Its completeness. As we sit together, let us contemplate this dream. This holy dream.
I shall receive to go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me, free like me. Lord, we are your love. Lord, we are your peace. Lord, we are your joy. This day. This
This book, as Anna told you, we're going to do a book study. It's going to start this week for those of you who already have a group. If you're not in a group yet, I really hope you will get in one. I think this book, written by Paul Hasselbeck, who will be here next week, is really important. It's easy to imagine when you come to church that you have a kind of a sense that you know what this is about. Do you have a sense that you know what unity is about? Do you have an idea kind of like what the whole game is about? And it in many ways, it is often underestimate what we're up to here. I think that what we're up to here is really quite big if we actually take it on. And what this book makes very clear is that what we're up to is something really quite radical. Because The Course in Miracles is extremely radical. If you've ever read it, it's one of those more profound books, and it's written in a poetic language, and sometimes it can be quite difficult to kind of grok what it's saying. But in general, it offers us another way of looking at the world. Interestingly, it is extremely parallel to what Unity offers, that its philosophy is quite radical than what it might appear on the surface. On the surface, it might say, if you change your mind, you will have a better life. You'll have better good things in it. You'll have more good things in it and less bad things. And you'll be happier. And that's true. But I think what this book is doing and what the Course in Miracles is doing is it's essentially saying, hey, there's a much bigger game that we'd like to play with you, and this is how you can transform not only your little things, but the big things in your life. The biggest thing is, who are you really? To come to know yourself as you really are. Who is the core of who you are? Not who have you assumed to be, but who were you really made to be? So let me just talk, if I can. I'll try to sum up a little bit of what the Course is saying, because the Course and Unity are saying the same thing. And here's what I'd like you to know, is that what I'm going to say, what are these thoughts about this, are just philosophical background. The real work is what we do with these thoughts, how we practice, how we pray, how we meditate, how we act with each other. This is the real work. But getting to know what the thought process is quite helpful. So here's how it goes. This idea of a dream within a dream is extremely helpful. When you fall asleep, your world that you create is a projection of your own thoughts. All of it. Everything in that dream is coming from you. It's you. You make a world. You are an actor in it. There's a story to it. There's winning and losing and heartbreak and happiness. Some days, you're being chased by monsters. Other days, you're flying. It's a fantastic thing. But it all happens inside your mind, and when your mind is doing this, it is very real. It feels very real. It's complete, it's total, it's everything. But when you wake up, when you open your eyes, then it disappears. It's not real. It didn't really matter. It was an experience for sure. Maybe you even remember it, but it's gone. It's not there. It was just in your mind. Now contemplate this idea, that when you wake up from that dream, when you're dreaming at night, you wake up, you open your eyes, that you're still in a dream, that you're in the dream that the Course is talking about. And that is the dream that you're separate from God, that you have lost your connection with the divine, that somehow you are not love made manifest, that you are essentially a separate being, and as a separate being, you experience fear, and having experienced fear, you experience separateness and the struggles of life, and that you don't really know how to love, and so you have relationships that do not reflect your true nature, but reflect your sense of separateness, and the whole thing continues throughout your whole life because we continue to be in a dream, but the idea of the Course is that you wake up, that you're no longer in this dream, that you come to realize, so this is not reality, this is my projection. That what was in my mind has now been projected onto the screen of my experience, and the screen of my experience is such that I experience separateness. And to aid in that game of separateness, I now have a body that I think is me. And this body not only has a edge and a separateness, but it even more importantly, it gets sick and it has troubles, it has problems. These problems confirm that I am not one with the divine. It is self-evident that that I live in separation. And unity actually is saying the same thing. Charles Fillmore wrote most of what we use as the foundational thoughts around unity about 120 years ago. The Course in Miracles came out around in the 70s, about 75. But they say essentially the same thing, that God made you. Having made you, you made your experience. Therein lies the rub. We have made this experience. We have made this experience as it is, that what we see is a projection of us. It is our dreaming it. It is not God's world. It's our world. And we're stuck within it until we can grow out of it. And the process of transforming your mind is this process of growing out of it. It's very seductive. We're in it together. I think it's not just you as an individual, but it might be better described as they do in Hinduism when they talk about Indra's net. Indra was a god, and this net describes kind of the nature of the interrelationship of consciousness. So it is consciousness that is creating this. But we are part of it. So the net that we're talking about is, as you know, a net is made up of strings that are knotted in places, and then in Indra's net, everywhere there's a knot, there's a crystal or a diamond that reflects or refracts the nature of the world around it. So in every knot, there is the world around is everything, and everything is also dependent, like the net, on these crystals, so that you're both part of it and you reflect all of it. It's kind of holographic in a sense. It is a mutual co-arising, all that we see. This Indra's net means that your consciousness, your crystal, is connected to everyone else, and being connected to everyone else, you are also sourcing the experience of everyone else and being sourced by that experience also. So that we are all in this together, or as we might say in a Jungian fashion, that you have a collective consciousness, and that we're all adding to this experience. But it is our job as a jewel in this net to awaken to the true nature of who we are and what is really happening here. And because this is so convincing, and we have lots of friends to convince us of it, we live in this world of illusion that we have been there for a long time. What if there is time? In this time, in the illusion, there's a long time to it. But there's another realm. The other realm is called the absolute realm. And you might think of this going on here. It's going on right now, where thus we believe that we're separate and that we have to get stuff, that we're missing something, right? This is the cause of a lot of strife, that we're not complete and adequate in ourselves. We need others, and therefore we often work this out in love relationships or friendships or other kind of relationships where we expect to give and to get something back. That's because we don't feel whole and complete in ourselves. But there's another place where everything is complete, always has been. We're not missing anything because we're in with the Creator as the Creator. We're that divine idea. And the divine idea, both in the Course in Miracles and in Unity, is called the Christ. That idea is the complete thought of what we might be. Now, it's not that what we might be as a body, it's what we might be as, we'll call it spirit. So there's many aspects in that. There are many parts to that grand idea called the Christ. But for sure, in the Christ, all is complete. All that you are, all that's necessary for you is there. You are it. You are not separate from God. There's no fear. There's no separation. There's only oneness. There's unity. There's only unity in that place. And so that's the realm of the absolute. And we think of often the realm of the absolute because we live in a dualistic thought pattern over here, not in absolute terms, but in dualistic terms, like good and evil, better and worse. You and me is the big one. God and us is the big separation. We live over here, but it turns out, if you really think about the absolute, it's not over there. It interpenetrates the very presence here. Even in the duality, even in our separate sense of self, there permeates within us this oneness, this connection, this non-differentiation from the divine as us. It is here now, and so in some sense, we have never left God, and we have never decided that we could be separate from God. But we have fallen asleep, and we have dreamed that we were. And in dreaming that we were, we have then projected it out into the world. And as we project it out into the world, we see it. We see it out there. And then we go, so we're separate. I see that I am separate. And that the world is made up of many things. Most of them, almost all of them, are not me. Over there. We see what we have believed. And what we have believed is the false idea that there is some way to be separate from God. Some way to be separate from each other. Some way to be inadequate. Some way to live in lack. Some way not to have. We experience what we have thought to be true, and so it comes back to us as true. Now, these days, this is going on all the time. This has been going on a long time. But one easy place to see it these days, one place I find it very easy to see, is when I think about people who are watching one form of news. If you notice, the news, which is supposed to be bringing us the truth, right now is often flavored, right? It's flavored one way or the other. And those people who believe it are nuts. If you watch only one form of propaganda and you believe it, you're just plain crazy, right? And when I see people do this, it just pisses me off. It really gets me upset. That they would be so stupid. And the reason is, if you go all the way back to the source, I'm doing the same thing everywhere all the time. I'm choosing the reality to see, and then I see it. And everything I see reinforces what I believed originally. And so I continue this belief of I'm separate and I'm not enough and I need something I'm separated from the love of God and I separate my love from other people. Yeah, I see that. It all comes back to me, just like the news I put out there is the news I get back. And now we're just playing it out on the internet, on TV. It's really kind of fascinating, isn't it? We hear only what we want to hear. We see only what we want to see. We can't get beyond it. Except, of course, if you listen to Charles Fillmore or read The Course in Miracles, they say, hey, let there be a crack in your simplistic way of seeing the world as a problem and begin to see the world as a whole and you as the source of your experience. And then when you want to change the world, you don't have to go out here and manipulate it over here. You just change the way you project, what you're projecting. You become the source. You own that you are the source. You, as a crystal on Indra's net, you are the source of this experience. And then you can really make a difference, because the difference isn't over there. It's here. And that's why unity is radical. It's not radical like, oh, I'll say some affirmations, I'll do some visualization, and I'm going to get a new job. Yeah, true. It is the door prize. It is the door prize, and who doesn't want a door prize? I mean, every time I go to the party, I want the door prize for sure. I don't mean that. But the big outcome is what we're really after, which is to awaken to who you really are and feel a radical shift of the disappearance of the universe as you had seen it and see it fresh. See it as it really is. This is the goal of all this stuff. And ultimately, the outcome is that the absolute will win. You'll be back where you belong. Everybody's returning home. Some of us have decided to get on the train, and others of us are waiting till next time. But the reason I think you're really in the room today, while you come and you practice and you read and you've been on a spiritual path, is that there's some inkling, there's something else out there. You're kind of like Neo in the Matrix. You go, the Matrix is ruling me. I need to do better than this. I'm going to take the right pill. I'm going to wake up from this. Now, unfortunately, for Neo in the movie The Matrix, when he wakes up, it's basically terrible. But when you wake up to that you are divine love, that you are love, you've never left God, you're in that place of heaven, in a sense. You're in the kingdom of the divine. This is a good outcome. This is something to look forward to. And the journey along the way can be a bit disorienting, right? Because if you said, hey, my sense of separateness is all I've ever known, I'm going to trade it in for oneness, do you think that's going to go easily? Maybe. But it could also be times when you don't really know what's going on. You're in a state of flux. Right? So I would suggest if you commit to doing this, you ask that it go easily and gracefully. That you relax gently into it. That you allow this to unfold in a beautiful way. That you realize without too much suffering. Now, one of the great motivators, beautiful motivators for awakening to your divine nature is suffering itself. Is it not? I mean, what got you to come to church in the first place? Or at least, maybe I'm just being autobiographical. But most of us have a failing, a loss. So we lose something. We're unhappy. Something doesn't feel quite right. Something's not perfect. And so we go to try to find an answer. And we find a little bit of an answer. And now what I'm saying is here, the door we were really knocking on was this radical answer. And so the suffering we've had has been an invitation to go to a deeper, deeper place. Now, if this idea of projection, that you are creating your reality, feels like a bitter pill to take, because you're in the midst of suffering at this moment, that's really understandable. But life is a sine wave, and the suffering that you're in is not been the only thing you've experienced. And so if you're up here in the happiness, my words are landing on your ears while you're in a good space, it's probably silly to say, oh, I got this. I don't really need to look beyond the present moment. Things are working for me. That's true in some sense. But the truth could be still hidden from you. And as you follow the sine wave of duality, you will at some point be confronted with your own suffering. So don't be too proud if it's working, or too depressed if it's not working at this moment. It's all part of the journey toward this deeper awakening. We have been called, ultimately, to wake up that we are the Christ itself, that we are a perfect idea in the mind of God. What a radical idea. Is that not just like out there? I mean, wasn't it easier back when Christianity said if you're good, you go to heaven, and if you're bad, you go to hell, and all you had to do was get above 50% and it was over, right? And now it's like, oh my God, I got to wake up to... Yeah, and so not everybody's up for this, right? But if you are, part of the beginning is to kind of explore this idea, which this book does a really good job of doing, because it looks at it from unity and it looks at it from Course in Miracles language, and they're both more or less pointing to the same thing. And I think it's easier to get clarity about what they're talking about because it comes at it from both angles. And then once you get an idea where you're going, it makes it a whole lot easier to get there. Because most of the time we have just been doing, what's known as the total catastrophe, a wife, children, and a house. We're doing that. That's what we're doing. But now we're asked to do something else, to do something really quite radical. And the idea also is, the good news is that as you awaken to who you are, little by little we awaken to who we are, we have begun to have a better life anyway inside this illusion of separateness. As the separateness moves away, we begin to have more access to who we really are. And as such, we begin to realize we are the creators of our life, and we have more access to change it. It's not like a completely either or thing. It's an unfolding, and we become more and more capable, more loving, more happy, more fulfilled, because we are really getting what we always wanted. And it's not real estate. What we really wanted was to wake up. That's it. I don't know about you, but I've been so busy working on my dualistic world that this seems like a big deal, a big change. It feels like it's asking me to do something I'm unpracticed at. I'm not sure about. I don't know exactly how to do this. And I think that's true. Because within the dream, it's hard to really think about how to not be in the dream. So this is where prayer and meditation and intention come in, is that we set the intention to wake up, and we ask that it be done gracefully and gently with us, but that we be pulled in the direction of our awakening step by step as it needs to happen. And then we agree when it is happening. We let it happen, and essentially we say yes to the unfolding. And if you think about it, it could be disoriented because it's not going to be like it was. It's going to be looking differently. This is the agreement we must make if we want it to come to us now, is that I'm willing to really be willing to be different, to see the world differently, to love differently, to feel a richness and a fullness in this life with or without someone telling us, but us telling the world we are full, complete, and whole. This willingness is what's next. As we go through this 5 weeks, we'll get some tools to get there, some deeper understandings, but the willingness to be transformed, I think that's all we need to ask this today. May I be transformed. I'm going to put in there gracefully. May I be transformed gracefully. May it happen now. Let us pray. May you be transformed gracefully. May every day you wake up, you look at the world afresh. Start with the phrase, it's a great day. I am awakening to my divine nature. I am the divine. The crystal of Indra. I am that. Let us agree. Let us pursue it with honest effort. And let us realize that it is not we who do the work, but the Christ within. Let that which is perfect and whole and complete within you be the voice of who you are. Be the one who prays. Be the center out of which you arise. Be the heart of it. You are the Christ. That presence, not separate, but one. Let it come to you and be you gracefully, beautifully, lovingly, happily, successfully, joyfully. May you be happy. by knowing your true nature. Kind because you see yourself in everyone. Wise because you are not fooled by appearances. May it be so. May it always be so. Amen. Thank you. Well, once again, Paul will be here next week. I think you'll enjoy him. I've known him since I was a ministerial student and we used to sit 10 feet apart. For 2 years, we sat in the same classroom, just a few feet apart from each other. I trusted that he will be honest with his intentions with you, and that if you are willing, he might have something really worth listening. All right, so let's take up an offering. Of course, we have the choir. Don't you love when they're here and we're singing the same song? Somehow when they sing and we're singing in congregational, we sound a lot better, don't we? I really like that. Okay, let's say this together. Together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So it is.
Luce che tu dai.
I pray we'll find our light.
Pure resterà.
And hold it in our hearts.
A ricordarci che
when stars go out each night.
Stella, stella, stella. Quanta fede c'è
When shadows fill our day.
Lead us to a place.
Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved. So come along, O sense of your presence.
Good morning. Are we all awake? Good morning. My name is Tammy Johns, and I'm a member of Unity Women of Color. We are spiritual women celebrating, encouraging, and supporting life with purpose. And speaking of purpose, Black History Month is a celebration, it's an annual celebration that has been designated to acknowledge the achievements of Blacks in U.S. history. It is the brainchild, also known as African American history, of Carter G. Woodson, who is a noted historian, and other prominent African Americans, which originally began as Negro History Week, excuse me. Since 1976, all presidents have designated February as Black History Month. Other countries, including Canada and the UK, have also devoted a month to celebrate Black history. There are plenty of notable African Americans who have contributed to U.S. history. We have chosen to focus on women, and the Unity Youth Group will be partnering with us to share each week a highlighted woman. Today, we are choosing from the category of science and medicine, Katherine Johnson.
Hi, my name is Tara Boone. For the last few weeks, the Unity teens have been studying Katherine Johnson. She was born in 1918 in West Virginia. She started high school at age 10 and began college at age 15. At only age 18, she graduated college. After college, she became a teacher. When she was 34, she began working as a NASA checking the computer's math. She was a very special part of us landing on the moon. Without her, we couldn't have done it. Katherine will be 102 in August. And if you were wondering, she still loves to count.
Let's all stand. We'll give the youth a blessing. And this is from our heart to theirs. Let's say these words together. Together. You are loved, special, and important, just the way you are. Now let's join hands and sing the peace song. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Happy Super Bowl!